Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Crazy Canyon Raceway for the Crazy Cars Canada 1000 subscriber Showdown tournament with 128 cars who took the track last video and all tried to fight and prove their worth to get into the 64 car tournament of round 1. Some upsets have already happened, as you see some fan favorites not in the bracket in front of you, and if you have not watched that qualifying video, you might want to do that before this one, as it was a banger. If you are new here and do not know how the point system works, if you finish in first place, you get 4 points. If you finish in second, you get 3 points. Third place, you get 2 points, and fourth place, you only get 1 point. If you don't finish the race, you get 0 points. And the round breakdown to see here. In round 1, we have 16 groups that will hit the track. Round 2, you'll have 8 groups. Round 3, 4 groups will hit the track. Round 4, 2 groups. And then round 5 will only be 1 group, and that is when we will crown our champion. So it's going to be a long video, everybody. So get some snacks, relax, and enjoy. So here is Group 1. Boost finished with 12 points in qualifying, so he starts first. Miguel Camino's in second with 11 points. Stinger in third with 10 points. And Chris Roman with 10 points as well. Race 1, Camino got an early lead, but Boost passed him halfway down, and everybody would crash and nobody finishes. Race 2, even start, but Miguel Camino would get pushed over the line by Chris Roman for the win. Boost would finish third, and Stinger would fly over the line for fourth. Race 3, Stinger would spin halfway down, while Chris Roman dominates for the win with Camino in second, and Stinger and Boost both crash out. The final race, Stinger and Camino both stall sideways and block Chris Roman from finishing, and Boost sells an easy win and gets stuck on a tree. This would see Miguel Camino and Chris Roman both advancing to round 2 with 7 points. Group 2 had Lewis Hamilton, who finished with 15 points in qualifying, Flo, who finished with 12 points in qualifying, Aiden, who also had 12 points, and Randy Lawson, who only had 8. Race 1, Flo would have a great start and would hold the lead all the way down for the win. Randy Lawson would hit the edge and he wouldn't finish. Flo for the win, followed by Lewis Hamilton, then Aiden. Second race, Randy Lawson gets a great start. He spins halfway but finishes first, followed by Flo and Lewis Hamilton. Aiden crashes out. Race 3, Lewis Hamilton flips in the first turn as Randy Lawson comes down for the win, followed by Flo, then Aiden. Fourth and final race, we have Aiden, who comes down in first. Flo gets stuck on the middle sector. Aiden wins, followed by Lewis Hamilton. Randy Lawson and Flo both crash out, and we need a 3-way tiebreaker race, all tied with 7 points each. Lewis Hamilton, Randy Lawson, and Aiden are the 3 competitors. Lewis Hamilton wins, Aiden second, and Randy Lawson crashes out. The second tiebreaker race, Randy Lawson crashes again. Lewis Hamilton comes in for a win, and Aiden crashes out this time. So you can see Randy Lawson on his lid, and Aiden spun around sideways on the final sector. Third and final race to advance to round 2. Who's going to take it? Aiden comes down for the win, followed by Randy Lawson, and Lewis Hamilton just trickles over the line to advance on. The final standings are Flo with 10 points, and Lewis Hamilton advancing on with 9. Group 3 had Doc Hudson, who finished with 12 points, Finn McMissile, who finished with 11, H.J. Hollis, who also finished with 11, and Paul Conrav, who only finished with 9. He is the Christmas Cup reigning champion. The first race would be single file coming out of the first turn, but a huge wreck at the bottom between Conrav and McMissile saw Doc Hudson squeezing past for the win, followed by Hollis. Race 2, H.J. Hollis had a great start. He would come in for the win, and the other 3 races would pile on top of each other out the final turn, and all wouldn't finish. Race 3, H.J. had a rough start coming down, but once again, everybody wouldn't finish. A pile up at the end of the final turn. And then the final race here, you can see Finn McMissile crashing out, Doc Hudson for the win, followed by H.J. H.J. advances with 10 points, and Doc advances with 8. Group 4 had Jackson Storm, who finished with 11 points in qualifying, Chick Hicks, who finished with 10 points, Royce Revsley, who finished with 8 points, and then finally you have Mater, who finished with 7 points. Race 1, Royce Revsley would get stuck in the first turn. Chick Hicks would make a beautiful pass for the win on Jackson Storm. Storm finishes second, and Mater in third. Race 2, Royce Revsley and Mater had the front row. Royce Revsley would flip over the canyon. Jackson Storm would stall halfway down. Mater would come down for the win as Chick Hicks got stuck behind Jackson Storm. Race 3, Chick Hicks had an early lead. Royce Revsley flips again halfway down the middle sector. All 3 other cars other than Chick Hicks don't finish, and Chick Hicks wins. Race 4, Chick Hicks once again with an early lead. He would come down for the win, followed by Jackson Storm, and then Royce Revsley. Mater crashes out. We would need a tiebreaker race here between Jackson Storm and Mater. The first race, Jackson Storm had the inside line. He would come down for the win. Mater would crash out, and that was not looking good for Mater. Mater needs Jackson to crash out here to force a third race. Mater would win, but Storm would come down nice and tidy as he would be advancing on with Chick Hicks. Chick Hicks advances on with 12 points. Jackson Storm advances on with 7. Group 5 had Rod Torque Redline with 13 points. Ramon, who finished with 11 points. Candace, who also finished with 11 points. And Daryl Karchuk, who also finished with 11. Race 1, Rod Redline would fly down the track but would crash out of the final corner. Everybody else would follow him as nobody would finish. Race 2, Rod Redline stayed behind Ramon the whole race but couldn't make a move for the win. Candace makes a nice pass on the crashed out Daryl Karchuk to finish 3rd. Race 3 had a rough start for Rod. Once again, nobody stayed on their wheels and nobody finished. And then Candace and Redline come together and flip down the middle section together. Candace recovers for a win, and Ramon and Karchuk both don't finish as well. Candace advances on with 6 points, Ramon advances on with 4. Group 6 had Floyd Mulvihill, who finished with 13 points, Ducky Fauntleroy, who finished with 12, Nigel Gearsley, who also finished with 12 points, and finally Bob Cutlass, who only finished with 6. This was a very boring group, everybody. A couple big crashes here and there, and only 2 finishes throughout 4 races. Race 2, Mulvihill had a nice pass for the win past Ducky. And that would see Floyd Mulvihill advancing with 4 points, and Ducky Fauntleroy finishing with 3 and advancing. Group 7 had Leroy Hemming with 12 points, Mario Andretti with 10 points, Speedy Comet with 8 points, and finally Noah Gocek with 4 points. Race 1, Leroy Hemming would spin Speedy Comet halfway down the track, and Mario Andretti would crash out at the end. Everybody else crashes except Speedy Comet, who trickles over the line. Race 2, Noah Gocek would commit suicide and fall off the side of the canyon, and everybody else wouldn't finish in protest to be with him. Race 3, Speedy Comet would flip on his lid in the first turn, but get corrected by Andretti. Noah Gocek for the win, followed by Hemming in reverse, then Comet, and then Mario Andretti in 4th. The 4th and final race would see a huge wreck with Speedy Comet at the bottom of the final turn, but he would get corrected. Mario Andretti for the win, followed by Gocek, Comet, and then Hemming. Speedy Comet advances on with 8 points, and Noah Gocek advances on with 7. Group 8 had Corey Turbowitz, who finished with 14 points. Second place had Liability with 9 points. Third place had Max Chanel, who finished with 9 points but in overtime. And Shoe Total Rookie finished with 9 points, but once again in overtime. Race 1, Max get turned by Shoe in the middle sector. Liability flips on his roof at the bottom. Nobody else finishes other than Corey Turbowitz. Race 2, Liability slows down in turn 1. Corey Turbowitz for the win, followed by Shoe, then Max, and then Liability. Race 3, a big wreck at the bottom by Liability. Him and Chanel wouldn't finish. Shoe gets the win. Race 4, Liability and Shoe Total Rookie flip in the middle sector. Chanel for the win, and Turbowitz doesn't finish. Corey Turbowitz advances with 11 points and Shoe with 7. Group 9 had Sheldon Shifter with 13 points, Darren Leadfoot with 12 points, Rip Klutchgonski with 7 points, and then finally Sterling, who finished with 5 points in overtime. This was a boring group as Darren Leadfoot would dominate, but race 1 and 4 were the only races that saw more than one race finisher, and it was only 2 people who finished each race both times. So yes, extremely boring group, but that would see Darren Leadfoot advancing on to round 2 with 11 points, and Sheldon Shifter also advancing in round 2, finishing with 4 points. Group 10 had Will Rush, who finished with 13 points, Lee Ravkins, who finished with 9 points, Duke Coulthers, who finished with 8 points in qualifying, and then finally Hall Ingas, who finished with 8 points as well. Race 1, Duke Coulthers slows in the middle of turn 1. Lee Ravkins flips the whole way down the backstretch and into the final turns. Rush wins, Ingas second, Coulthers third, and Ravkins fourth. Race 2 and 3 were both similar races. Will Rush finishes only race 2 and nobody finishes race 3 as Ingas falls off the track in the middle sector. Race 4, Ravkins has a great start. Duke Coulthers wrecks in turn 3, Lee Ravkins for the win, followed by Ingas and Rush. Will Rush advances on with 10 points, and Hall Ingas advances on with 6. Group 11 has Manny Flywheel, who finished with 11 points, Spiky Phillips, who also finished with 11, Brick Yardley, who finished with 10 points, and Jambalaya Chimichanga, who finished with 7. Race 1, Manny Flywheel will flip in turn 1 and Jambalaya gets stuck behind him. Phillips in first, followed by Yardley. Race 2, the whole group gets separated early in turn 1. Manny Flywheel with an early win, and everybody else gets stuck in the middle section. Race 3, Yardley rides the wall in turn 1. Jambalaya wins, followed by Yardley. Flywheel third as Phillips DNFs in the final turn. Race 4, Yardley makes contact with Flywheel and flips in the middle section. All 4 cars spin around on different parts of the track and don't finish. Manny Flywheel advances with 6 and Brick Yardley as well with 6. Group 12 has Jay, who finished with 15 points, Doug Throttleman, who finished with 9 in overtime, Showdown Jackson, who finished with 8 in overtime, and Slider Petrolsky, who finished with 4. Race 1, Showdown flips in turn 1, and Jay obliterates Doug Throttleman at the finish line for the win as Throttleman gets pushed over the line by Petrolsky. Petrolsky does not finish the race as he's stuck on the line. Race 2, Petrolsky is stuck, and so is Showdown Jackson. Jay for the win, and Throttleman spins in the middle section. Race 3, Showdown Jackson flips again, and Throttleman stuck behind him, and the other 2 flip and don't finish as well. Race 4, Showdown Jackson flips again, big surprise, and he gets launched over the canyon, and nobody finishes that race either. Jay advances on with 8 points, and Doug Throttleman advances on with only 3. Group 13 has Charlie Checkers with 13 points, JD McPillar, who finished with 11 points, Tailgate, who finished with 8 points, and finally Airborne, who only finished with 4 points. Race 1, Airborne would have a slow start, and JD McPillar would dominate the race, followed by Tailgate and then Charlie Checkers. Airborne does not finish. Race 2, Charlie Checkers have a great speed boost out of the first turn. He would lose as Tailgate makes a great push to everybody to win as everybody else DNFs. Race 3, Airborne has a great jump, and then he spins at the line but wins, followed by Tailgate and McPillar. Checkers, unfortunate DNF. And then race 4, Checkers has a very slow start. Tailgate comes in for the win, followed by Checkers, a nice recovery by him. It wouldn't be enough though as Tailgate advances on with 14 points and JD McPillar advances on with 6. Group 14 had Eric Breaker, who finished with 12 points, Smokey, who finished with 8 points in qualifying, Murray Clutchburn, who finished with 7 points in qualifying, and finally Natalie Certain, who finished with only 6 points in qualifying. Race 1, Murray Clutchburn hits the wall hard and has to crawl his way through the rest of the corner. Eric Breaker wins, Clutchburn recovers for second, and Smokey and Certain come together for a DNF. Race 2, too wide down the middle sector, and a massive pileup sees Eric Breaker as the only race finisher. Race 3, Certain spins on her own out of the first turn. Clutchburn wins. Certain spins once again but recovers for second, followed up by Breaker and Smokey. And the fourth and final race, Certain wins. Clutchburn in second, and Breaker passes Smokey, who's on his roof, for third place. Smokey does not finish. Eric Breaker advances on with 12 points, and Murray Clutchburn advances on with 10. Group 15 has Ernesto, who finished with 8 points in qualifying, Marlon Clutches McKay, who also finished with 8, Dirksen D'Agostino, who also finished with 8, and Pat Traxon, who only finished with 4. In race 1, Ernesto has a good start, but D'Agostino and Traxon get together and spin in the middle section. Ernesto is the only car who finishes. Race 2, Ernesto flies around turn 1 and wins back-to-back races, and once again, nobody finishes. Race 3, everybody spins in the middle section, all bunch on top of each other in the final turn as nobody finishes. And then the fourth race, Pat Traxon spins in section 2. D'Agostino wins as everybody else spins out on the final stretch. Ernesto advances on with 8 points and D'Agostino advances on with 4. And Group 16 has Claude Scruggs in it with 11 points, Jonas Carvers with 10 points, Sage Vanderspin, who finished with 9 points in overtime, and Johnny, who finished with 8 points. This is the final group of round 1, by the way. Race 1, everybody has an even start all the way down through the middle section. Carvers wins, followed by Scruggs, Johnny, and then Vanderspin. Race 2, Vanderspin slows down through turn 1, and Scruggs wins this time. Johnny second, Carvers third, and Vanderspin fourth. Race 3, Johnny cuts off Vanderspin out of turn 1, and Johnny wins while everybody else falls off the track or spins out control and don't finish. Race 4 is single file down the middle section. Drag race to the line as Carvers wins. Johnny second, Scruggs third, Vanderspin falls off the track. Johnny advances on with 12 points, and Jonas Carvers advances on with 10 points. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to conclude round 1 here. We're going to catch our breath. Refill some snacks if you need to, but here you could take a look up at the updated bracket heading into round 2, as they will be hitting the track shortly. So let's introduce you to the first group of round 2. In row 1, finishing with 10 points in round 1, we have Flo. Beside her, finishing with 9 points, we have Lewis Hamilton. Then in row 2, finishing with 7 points, we have Miguel Camino. And lastly, also finishing with 7 points, we have Chris Roman. Race 1, everybody would have a pretty even start. Lewis Hamilton would get turned flipped off the side of the canyon, Flo would flip, and nobody would finish behind her. Race 2 would also be another even start. Flo came in for the win, followed by Hamilton, then Camino, and Chris Roman spins. Race 3, Chris Roman has a great start. He comes in for the win, followed by Flo, Miguel Camino, and then Lewis Hamilton. And the 4th race, Lewis Hamilton has a great start on the outside lane. He comes in for the win, followed by Camino and Flo. Flo advances on with 9 points, and Lewis Hamilton advances on with 8. In row 1, finishing with 12 points in round 1, we have Chick Hicks. Alongside him, finishing with 10 points, we have H.J. Hollis. And starting off row 2, finishing with 8 points, we have the fabulous Hudson Hornet, Doc Hudson. And finally, finishing with 7 points in overtime, we have Jackson Storm. Race 1, H.J. Hollis has a great start and Jackson Storm has a very poor one. H.J. Hollis comes in for the win as everybody else gets stuck in the middle sector. Race 2, Jackson Storm would have a much better start than the first race. Chick Hicks comes in for the win, followed by Jackson Storm and H.J. Hollis. You can actually see he touches the line there to secure 3rd place. And Doc Hudson does not finish and gets 0 points because he didn't touch the finish line. Race 3, Doc Hudson would have a pretty slow start, but so would everybody else. Jackson Storm for the win, followed by Chick Hicks. Doc Hudson would flip, and so does H.J. Hollis. Race 4, another poor start by Jackson Storm. This would see Doc Hudson for the win, followed by Hollis, then Storm. Chick Hicks doesn't finish. H.J. Hollis and Jackson Storm both advance on with 9 points each. In row 1, finishing with 6 points, we have Candace. Beside her, we have Ramon, who finished with 4 points. Behind him, we have Floyd Mulvihill, who also finished with 4. And then finally, we have Ducky Fauntleroy finishing with 3 points in round 1. Race 1, everybody would have a pretty slow start, but this would see a drag race by Floyd Mulvihill to beat out Ramon at the line, followed by Candace, and Fauntleroy doesn't finish. Race 2 is a much better start from everybody. Candace for the win, followed by Fauntleroy, Ramon, and Mulvihill spins and doesn't finish. Race 3, Candace would have a slip up in the 2nd sector as Fauntleroy for the win, followed by Mulvihill, then Candace. Ramon crashed out. Race 4, Candace had a very slow start, but that would see Ramon for the win, getting pushed over the line as Mulvihill, and Ducky does not cross the line with Candace stuck behind her. They both DNF. This would see Floyd Mulvihill advancing on with 10 points, and Ramon finishing up with 9, also advancing. In row 1, we have Corey Turbowitz, who finished with 11 points in round 1. Alongside her, who finished with 8 points in round 1, we have Speedy Comet. Behind him, we have Noah Gocek, who finished with 7 points. And beside him, we have Shu Todoroki, who also finished with 7. In the first race, Corey Turbowitz would actually flip backwards in the first turn, but Speedy Comet would come down for the win, followed by Gocek, Turbowitz, and then Todoroki. Race 2, a huge wreck with Turbowitz would see nobody finishing here as Shu Todoroki gets stuck on the final tree. Race 3, Shu Todoroki would have a great start. Turbowitz would get stuck in the 2nd sector. Speedy Comet would flip, and that would see Todoroki in 1st and Gocek in 2nd. Race 4, Todoroki has a very rough start, and this would see Noah Gocek for the win, followed by Comet, Todoroki, and then Turbowitz. Tied at 7 points each, we need a tiebreaker race by Shu Todoroki and Speedy Comet. Shu Todoroki wins the first race with Speedy Comet crashing out. Shu Todoroki just needs to finish this race to advance on to the next round. Speedy Comet had a great lead, but actually crashes and Shu wins. Shu advances on with 8 points, and Noah Gocek advances on with 10. In row 1, finishing with 11 points, we have Darren Leadfoot. Beside him, we have Will Rush finishing with 10. In row 2, we have Hall Ingas finishing with 6 points. And finally, we have Sheldon Shifter finishing with 4. Race 1, Sheldon Shifter hits the wall hard in turn 1 and has a very slow rest of the race. Will Rush comes in for the win as all the other 3 racers flip upside down, not finishing. Race 2, Darren Leadfoot would fall off the side of the canyon, falling into the pits. Will Rush comes in for the win as Sheldon Shifter and Ingas both spin, stuck in the final straightaway. Race 3, Hall Ingas has a brutal crash, crashing out all 3 racers except for Sheldon Shifter, who wins the race. And race 4, Hall Ingas flips in turn 1, but Leadfoot corrects him, and Will Rush comes in for the win, followed by Shifter, then Leadfoot. Will Rush advances on with 12 points, and Sheldon Shifter advances on with 7. In row 1, we have Jay finishing with 8 points. Alongside him, we have Manny Flywheel finishing with 6. In row 2, we have Brick Yardley also finishing with 6. And finally, we have Dud Throttleman finishing with 3. Race 1, Jay has a great launch out of turn 1 as he comes in for the first win of this group. Every other car does spin out or crash, not finishing. Race 2, Dud Throttleman has a better start, but Jay does capitalize once again. He comes in, spins out, Dud Throttleman for the win, Manny Flywheel crashes, and Brick Yardley finishes second. Race 3, Dud Throttleman has a great launch out of turn 1 once again. He comes in, wrecked by Jay. Jay wins, and all the other 3 cars crash each other out. And for the 4th race, Brick Yardley does come in for the win, followed by Dud Throttleman and then Jay. It's tied at 7 points each. We do have Brick Yardley and Dud Throttleman needing tiebreaker races. As you can see in the middle sector, they both crash out. So now the winner of the second race will advance on. It was a very close race, I must say, neck and neck the whole way, but Brick Yardley does take it. This will see Brick Yardley advancing on with 8 points and Jay advancing on with 10. In row 1, finishing with 14 points in round 1, we have Tailgate. Beside them is Eric Breaker, who finished with 12 points. And in row 2, we have Murray Clutchburn, who finished with 10 points. And then finally, we have JD McPillar finishing with 6. Turn 1 is starting to become notorious for giving some racers some struggles as JD McPillar hits the wall there and has a very bad rest of the race. Eric Breaker trickles over the line for first place. Everybody else crashes. In race 2, JD McPillar beats Tailgate out of turn 1. Clutchburn and Breaker get stuck in the middle sector, and Tailgate and McPillar get stuck in the final sector. Nobody finishes. Race 3, Clutchburn comes in for the win, followed by McPillar, and then Tailgate and Breaker get stuck on the final straightaway. In race 4, Murray Clutchburn comes in for the win, followed by Eric Breaker, then JD McPillar, and then Tailgate. This sees Murray Clutchburn advancing on with 8 points and Eric Breaker advancing on with 7. We could see Tailgate here packing up and heading home in frustration after heading into the group with a record high 14 points and giving a very, very disappointing result with only 1, getting eliminated in round 2. In row 1, finishing with 12 points in round 1, we have Johnny. Beside him, we have Jonas Carvers finishing with 10 points. In row 2, we have Ernesto finishing with 8. And finally, Dirksen D'Agostino finishing with 4. Everyone has a great start to start off race 1. Dirksen spins and has a moment in the middle sector. Carvers wins, followed by Ernesto, Johnny, and Dirksen doesn't finish, getting stuck near the finish line. Race 2, Johnny has some late reaction time, as him and Carvers has a very bad start then. Dirksen win, followed by Ernesto, Johnny, and then Carvers. Race 3, Carvers does get stuck in turn 1, but D'Agostino wins, followed by Ernesto and then Johnny. And then Johnny gets stuck in turn 1 during race 4. Ernesto wins, followed by Carvers and then D'Agostino. Ernesto finishes in first place with 13 points, and then in second place is Dirksen D'Agostino finishing with 10. And that is going to conclude round 2 here, so everybody catch your breath. Get some snacks and some water as we are heading in quick to the Sweet 16, as you can look at our updated bracket here. So buckle up, because these races are only going to get better as we are heading in to the Sweet 16. Let's go. In row 1, finishing with 9 points, we have H.J. Hollis. Beside him, also finishing with 9 points, we have Flo. And starting off in row 2, also finishing with 9 points, we have Jackson Storm. And lastly, finishing with 8 points, we have Lewis Hamilton. Race 1 of the Sweet 16 sees H.J. Hollis and Flo going neck and neck out of turn 1. Flo comes in for the win, followed by Hollis. Storm and Hamilton both DNF. Race 2, Hollis has a great start but flips in the final turn. Hamilton wins, followed by Flo and then Jackson Storm. Race 3, Lewis Hamilton has a better start than Jackson Storm. Lewis Hamilton comes in for the win, followed by Storm, Hollis, and then Flo DNFs in the final straightaway. Race 4, Flo comes in for the win, followed by Lewis Hamilton and then Jackson Storm. This sees Flo and Lewis Hamilton both advancing on with 11 points each. In row 1, finishing with 10 points in round 2, we have Floyd Mulvihill. Beside him, also with 10 points, we have Noah Gocek. In row 2, finishing with 9 points, we have Ramon. And finally, beside him, finishing with 8 points in overtime, we have Shu Todoroki. In race 1, a very quick start from all 4 racers sees Noah Gocek coming in for an early win, followed by Floyd Mulvihill, and then Ramon, and Shu Todoroki doesn't finish. This replay shows a huge crash at the bottom of the finish line. Race 2, Floyd Mulvihill takes the lead early. He comes in for the win, followed by Shu, Gocek, and then Ramon. Very clean racing so far. Race 3, Shu Todoroki has a great jump out of the gate. He comes in for the win, followed by Floyd Mulvihill, then Noah Gocek, and then Ramon. Race 4, Ramon gets a good jump this time, followed by a neck-and-neck battle by Noah Gocek and Shu Todoroki. Ramon wins, followed by Shu, Gocek, and then Floyd Mulvihill. We need tiebreaker races. First race goes to Shu Todoroki, and then Noah Gocek in second. The second race, Noah Gocek comes in for the win, followed by Shu Todoroki. And then for the third and final race, they had a very even start. Shu Todoroki went neck and neck with him all the way down, but Noah Gocek with a great pass at the line sees him advancing on with 11 points, and Floyd Mulvihill also advancing on with 11. In row 1, finishing with 12 points in round 2, we have Will Rush. Alongside him, we have Jay, who finished with 10 points. In row 2, we have Brick Yardley, who finished with 8 points in overtime. And finally, we have Sheldon Shifter, who finished with 7. In the first race, Will Rush rides the rail of turn 1, almost flipping off, but he saves it. Jay comes in for the win, but the other 3 racers all end up on their lids, DNFing. Race 2, Will Rush comes around with the lead out of turn 1. Brick Yardley almost gets stuck in turn 1, but he saves it. Will Rush comes in for the win, followed by Shifter, and then Jay and Yardley DNFs. Race 3, Shifter has a great jump, also out of turn 1. He crashes, though, and Will Rush wins, followed by Jay and Yardley DNFs once again. Race 4, Brick Yardley has a great slingshot out of turn 1, but he crashes and Jay takes the win, followed by Will Rush. This will see Jay finishing with 13 points, advancing on, and Will Rush advancing on with 11. In row 1, finishing round 2 with 13 points, we have Ernesto. Beside him, we have Dirksen D'Agostino, who finished with 10 points. In row 2, we have Murray Clutchburn, who finished with 8 points. And finally, we have Eric Breaker, who finished with 7. Race 1, all 4 racers have a great, very even start. Dirksen D'Agostino comes down for the win. Murray Clutchburn gets hit at the line to finish second, followed by Ernesto and then Eric Breaker. Race 2, Ernesto did not have the best reaction time out of the gate, but that doesn't matter. He comes in for the win is what it looks like, but we actually needed replay for this. We could see, does he touch the line to finish in first? He did. As you can see, his wheel did cross the white and black checkered finish line there. So Ernesto finishes first, followed by Eric Breaker in second, and then Dirksen D'Agostino in third, and Murray Clutchburn DNF. For the third race, Eric Breaker ends up having a huge lead as he comes down for a very easy win, followed by Ernesto, then Murray Clutchburn, and then Dirksen D'Agostino in last place. And for the fourth race, Dirksen has a great line and launch out of turn 1. He comes down for the win, followed by Eric Breaker, and Ernesto does not touch the line. This sees Dirksen D'Agostino and Eric Breaker both advancing on with 11 points each. That concludes the Sweet 16, as now we are getting to the very juicy, fast races of the Elite 8 coming up next. So these are going to be some fantastic races. Leave your predictions down below as you take a look at the updated bracket right now and make a prediction on who's going to win. So let's get straight on into the Elite 8. In row 1, we have Flo, who finished with 11 points in the Sweet 16. Beside her, we have Floyd Mulvihill, who also finished with 11. Then in row 2, we have Lewis Hamilton, who also finished with 11 points. And then finally, we have Noah Gocek, who finished with 11 points in overtime. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now for the remainder of the tournament, both Elite 8 groups and the Final Four, we'll be going to a live broadcast system. We will not be doing recaps of all the groups. We will now be commentating on each race live. So now in the front row, we have Flo and Floyd Mulvihill. We are out racing. Floyd Mulvihill gets a great jump, followed by Lewis Hamilton. Floyd Mulvihill comes down for the win, followed by Hamilton, Flo, and then Noah Gocek. Race 2, here we are. Flo has a great jump. Lewis Hamilton falling behind early. Flo comes down for the win, followed by Floyd Mulvihill, Lewis Hamilton, and Noah Gocek. Both spin out, not finishing. But now for race 3, Lewis Hamilton is spun in the middle sector. Noah Gocek flips at the line. He comes down for the win, pushed on by Lewis Hamilton. Look at this replay, folks. Coming out of the final corner, Noah Gocek flips on his lid. Lewis Hamilton tries to avoid him, but ends up pushing Noah Gocek over the line. Flo misses the line as Floyd Mulvihill comes in third. Wow, what a race. Final race here. Here we go. Lewis Hamilton has the lead. Noah Gocek spins backward. Lewis Hamilton for the win. What a drag race. Down to the line for second place. Look at this. Floyd Mulvihill looks like he easily has second place in the bag, but that is so close. And yeah, Floyd Mulvihill still just edges out Noah Gocek by just a little bit. Flo also comes down in fourth place. Not the best result for her, and definitely not the best group that we've seen her perform in. But wow, what a race. Flo looks up at the Jumbotron and realizes she won't be advancing to the Final Four for the first time in her career. 2 finals appearances and in the GOAT debate is now upset by Floyd Mulvihill and Lewis Hamilton. Floyd Mulvihill advances on with 12 points and Lewis Hamilton advances on with 10. The first 2 racers of our Final Four are set, as now we head to the second group in the Elite 8. In row 1, finishing with 13 points in the Elite 8, we have Jay. Beside him, we have Dirksen D'Agostino finishing with 11 points. Behind them, in row 2, we have Will Rush with 11 points as well. And then finally, Eric Breaker concludes this group, also with 11 points. Here we are, moments before race 1. We are out racing. Jay has the lead. Eric Breaker slowing down in turn 1. Coming down to the line, it's going to be Jay for the win. D'Agostino's on his lid. Will Rush in second. Eric Breaker in third. You can see Dirksen D'Agostino on his lid out of the final turn. And great job by Will Rush and Eric Breaker to both avoid him. Here we are for race 2. Eric Breaker looks like he has a better jump here. Oh, he turns Jay. Jay's going to come down for the win, it looks like. Yes, he is. And a drag race for second place. Who's going to take it? That is so close to call. I believe it's Eric Breaker, but the replay is going to show us. Jay, you can see, easily going in for the win. Eric Breaker bounces off the support beam of the final turn, and he does actually end up catching him. I do believe D'Agostino with the lead here. And yeah, that's Eric Breaker. Eric Breaker is going to finish second. D'Agostino finishes third. Race 3 here underway. Will Rush actually gets a better jump there than Eric Breaker. D'Agostino is falling behind. It's going to be Eric Breaker for the win, followed by Will Rush, Jay, and then Dirksen D'Agostino. There you can see the points on the left side. The final race, Will Rush has the lead here. He comes in for the win, followed by D'Agostino, Jay, and Eric Breaker does not finish. Jay is going to advance on with 12 points, and Will Rush is going to advance on with 10. And we have our Final Four matchup set here, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to crown ourselves a champion in the next 4 races. So sit back, relax, and let's enjoy some racing. Introducing the racers of the Final Four. Starting in first for the Final Four, we have Jay, who finished with 12 points in the Elite 8. Alongside him, we have Floyd Mulvihill, who also finished with 12 points. Kicking it off in row 2, we have Will Rush, who finished with 10 points. And last and certainly not least, we have Lewis Hamilton, who also finished with 10 points in the Elite 8. Let's get to racing, and let's crown ourselves a champion. Race 1 of 4, moments away from being underway, and we are out racing. Jay has a better start there, but Floyd Mulvihill takes the lead. Coming down to the line, it's going to be Floyd Mulvihill, followed by Jay, Will Rush, and then Lewis Hamilton. A very clean first race. All 4 racers putting up points as that's what they want. Looking at this replay here, Floyd Mulvihill, easy win for him. Will Rush actually spins around there, as you can see. He's in 3rd place, but does still beat out Lewis Hamilton to the line. As you take a look at the updated point standings here, Floyd Mulvihill leading the way with 4 points, followed by Jay with 3 and Will Rush with 2. Race 2, about to drop here. And we are out. Lewis Hamilton got a better jump, but Jay takes the lead back. Floyd Mulvihill almost spins in the middle section. Jay for the lead, and everybody else spins out, crashing. Jay is the only race finisher. Looking at this replay, Jay, easy win for him. Lewis Hamilton flips, then Will Rush flips, and Floyd Mulvihill has nowhere to go, crashing into the back of them. Wow, that is huge for Jay. He finishes 1st and 2nd in the first 2 races. The next 3 races are going to need a lot to do here before they catch up to him. But all eyes are on race 3. Will Rush and Lewis Hamilton have the front gate. We're out racing. Will Rush has the lead out of turn 1. He's going to come down for the win, followed by Lewis Hamilton, Floyd Mulvihill, and then Jay. Take a look at the replay. Will Rush takes a nice win, very calm. Lewis Hamilton finishes 2nd, and Floyd Mulvihill just edges out Jay to take some much-needed points away from him as we take a look at our updated standings. And now, folks, we're actually going to take a look at what each racer needs in order to win the championship. So starting off with Jay. Jay just needs to finish 1st or 2nd in the final race. He can finish 3rd, but Will Rush or Floyd Mulvihill cannot win. He can also finish 4th, but Floyd Mulvihill and Will Rush need one of them to finish 3rd and the other one to not finish at all. For Floyd Mulvihill to win the championship, he needs to finish 1st and Jay must finish 4th or DNF. He can finish 2nd and Will Rush must place lower than him and Jay must DNF. For Will Rush to win the championship, he can finish 1st and Jay must finish 4th or DNF. Or he could finish 2nd, and Floyd Mulvihill needs to place lower, and Jay must DNF. And for Lewis Hamilton to win the championship, he must finish 1st, and everybody else must DNF, and that is only for him to force overtime. So the best he can do is force overtime and pray for the best. But now we are approaching the 4th and final race. So ladies and gentlemen, get ready. We are about to crown ourselves a champion. On the right, you can see what each racer needs. Will Rush and Floyd Mulvihill both have a chance to steal this from Jay. We're out racing. Floyd Mulvihill has the lead. He's going to come down for the win, followed by Will Rush, Lewis Hamilton, and Jay in last. Is it enough for Floyd Mulvihill to be the champion? The standings are up, and yes it is! Floyd Mulvihill is your Crazy Cars 1000 subscriber special tournament champion, with Jay and Will Rush tied for 2nd. That is it. Looking at the replay of the final race, everything that needed to go right for Floyd Mulvihill did go right, and he is rewarded for it. He wins with Will Rush in 2nd, and Lewis Hamilton in 3rd, and Jay finishes last. Looking at our updated standings, wow, it looked like Jay had this locked, but Floyd Mulvihill takes it at the last race, and he is named your championship. Congratulations to him, and well done to everybody in this group. Well, everybody, we are finally crowning a champion, the best of the best, the number 1 car out of 128 participants in this tournament, as Floyd Mulvihill is going home with the number 1 trophy as he wins the Crazy Cars Canada 1000 subscribers special showdown tournament. And as we take a look here at our final bracket, we could see Jay in 2nd place and Will Rush in 3rd. A great effort by both of those drivers, just missing out on the championship by 1 point. And everybody, you guys can just take a look at the bracket here in front of you as I do the outro. Thank you guys all so much for watching. This video took so long to make, so much editing and filming, and I know it should have came out earlier as I hit 1,000 subscribers over a year now. I know, and it made it seem like I just quit YouTube after that, but I am back now as you saw the most recent uploads. And yeah, thank you guys all so much for 1,000 subscribers. I can't stress it enough. I mean, you guys helped me get to where I am today. Without you, there would be no Crazy Cars Canada. So thank you guys all so much. And thank you all for watching this video. It is so greatly appreciated. But if you guys did enjoy this video, are and super excited to see what is coming up on the channel, please do consider subscribing and leaving a like on this channel with post notifications on. That'd be greatly appreciated. But everybody, I am going to go now, take down the Crazy Canyon Raceway. If you want to see it come back in the near future, let me know, because I will gladly do it. I do enjoy doing these tournaments for you guys. But now I have a huge project in the works. It's actually a Motor Speedway of the South full-scale diorama It's going to look awesome. That's about halfway done, so hopefully I get that finished soon. And then I'm going to get radiator springs set back up here in the cars room, and I'll start pumping out more videos for you guys, more than ever. But everybody, thank you all so much for watching this video. Thank you all for 1,000 subscribers. It means the world to me. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys back here for another video. Have a great day, everybody, and peace.